Each of my siblings remembers that night in the bedroom. With me standing there in the doorway, I watched my father punch my mother so hard that she spit up blood. That moment, probably more than any other moment in my life, has defined who I am today.
Will Smith gets deeply candid about his childhood and his mother's abusive relationship with his father in his new YouTube original series, Best Shape of My Life.
There was so many kind of highs and lows on the emotional front. I cried, during the filming, and I'm not a big crier. It was shock, it was like profound moments of insight and revelations.
On Thursday, episode 5 of Will's 6-episode docuseries dropped. The episodes follow the 53-year-old actor as he reflects on his upbringing for his new memoir, Will.
Daddy-O was one of the greatest blessings of my life and also one of my greatest sources of pain. There were 2 issues. First, he had a brutal temper. And second, his drinking. When he was angry or drunk, he became an idiot. He would break his own rules, subvert his own objectives, destroy his own things. My mom is in many ways the total opposite of my father. Whereas Daddy-O was the boisterous, charismatic center of attention, my mom carried a quiet, reserved elegance.
Will recalls one particularly bad night when his father hit his mother so hard she spit up blood.
Each of my siblings responded differently in ways that would go on to define who we were for much of our lives. If Harry was fight, Ellen was flight, and I became a pleaser. I wanted to please and placate him because as long as Daddy-O was laughing and smiling, I believed we would be safe. My little 9-year-old brain processed Daddy-O's abusive episodes as somehow being my fault. I should have been able to keep my father satisfied. I should have been able to protect my mother.
The Pursuit of Happiness star added that he carried the guilt of doing nothing to help her in that moment for a lifetime.
My young identity congealed in my mind. An unshakable feeling that no matter what I have done, no matter how successful I've become, no matter how much money I've made or how many #1 hits I've had, how many box office records I've broken, there's that subtle and silent feeling always pulsating in the back of my mind that I'm a coward, that I've failed, that I'm sorry, my mom, so sorry.
Will's mom, Carolyn, eventually left his father and moved a couple of miles away to live with Will's grandmother, Gigi. And Carolyn joined Will after reading the chapter for the first time.
That was the only time in my life that I ever considered suicide. We never talked about it. The idea that I felt like I should have done something was so, foreign. So she reassured little Will that there was nothing that he could have done.
Will's self-titled memoir is full of refreshingly candid reflections. In the deeply personal book, he also opens up about his sex life with his wife, Jada Pinkett Smith, whom he married back in 1997.
Our marriage was the most difficult, grueling, and excruciating thing that we've ever taken on in our lives. And, we're just not quitters. We only ever worked on ourselves individually and then presented ourselves to one another better than we were previously.
During a recent sit-down with Oprah Winfrey for her series, The Oprah Conversation on Apple TV+, she read an excerpt from the book where Will talks about the early days of their relationship.
As far as I was concerned, there were only 2 possibilities. I was going to satisfy this woman sexually, or I was going to die trying.
And while the couple may have been hot and heavy back then, Will says it was and still is deeper than that.
Me and Jada, to this day, if we start talking, it's 4 hours. It's 4 hours if we exchange a sentence.
Really?
Yeah, and it's like, it's the center of why we've been able to sustain and, why we're still together, not choking the life out of each other.
Mm-hmm.
All that echoes what Will told ET about how they make it work back in 2007.
It is not your responsibility to make your wife happy, right? Just like it's not my wife's responsibility to make me happy. It's my responsibility to make me happy, and it's her responsibility to make her happy, and then we're gonna come together and build on that happiness.
As for Jada, Will says she was never interested in a traditional marriage. In fact, she didn't even want a wedding. Their union, it's all about bettering themselves and coming together stronger.
Will and Jada are on a spiritual journey to cleanse the poisonous, unloving parts of our hearts.
Wow.
And we're doing it together in this lifetime, no matter what.